Hello, this is Corriedale Reviews, and I'll be reviewing this week's episodes of Emmerdale. And did I enjoy them? Did I hate them? A few fans enjoyed them this week. The majority of fans did not enjoy them this week. Personally, I side with the majority of fans that hated it. I did not enjoy this week's Emmerdale, and I will explain why in due course. Let's go through some of the other storylines before we get to the really niggling storyline, that is the relationship between Frank and Megan. I am of course joking. It needs no introduction. I'm of course talking about the storyline to do with Lachlan and Rebecca. I'll get to that in due course. I'll get the other storylines out of the way, and then I will tell you exactly how I feel about it. Let's start with Bob Hope. There's only one word to describe Bob Hope, and that's hopeless. Enough said. Some funny lines on Monday's episode where he was trying to get a job, but where is it going? Where's the storyline going? He lied to Laurel about getting the job, and then he came clean the next day. I mean, why lie in the first place? I mean, I can understand it, but surely he must have learned his lesson about lying by now, where his life's taken him. But at least it wasn't going to be one of those stories where it was going to keep going and going and going, at least for the sanity of the fans. He confessed the day after, which just adds to what was the whole point of lying, especially because it's changed absolutely nothing in their relationship, maybe apart from the fact that he's more confident in telling Laurel the truth, but the fact that he lied to her in the first place might show that he's not more confident in telling her the truth. All I have to say was, it was a bit pointless, it was filler, but that's not the only pointless thing that happened this week. A lot of the storylines this week were utterly pointless. The camping with the kids going to the forest. Yeah, again, it delivered a few funny lines. I found it funny when April pulled out the vacuum cleaner and said, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts," in reference to the new Ghostbusters film that came out a couple of years ago. But what was the point of it? What was the point of it? Because it was hyped up that they would find Rebecca in the cabin, and they didn't. So really, what was the actual point of that storyline? Why did we need to know that was happening? Why? It was just filler. It was just pointless filler. It got the fans' hopes up. It was cruel, really, to the fans, expecting them to stumble upon Rebecca and get her the help she needs, but instead they didn't find her. I think that would have been a very exciting storyline if it was Lachlan, Rebecca and all the kids in the cabin, and it would have put an end to this whole Lachlan saga once and for all, which a lot of us were really hoping for, but it looks like it's going to continue until maybe October, where they do their week of no going back week. Maybe it's going to go until Christmas, who knows, but I'm personally sick of it. And yes, it would have been a great way to end that. But that wasn't the case. But as I said, I will get back to Lachlan and Rebecca at the end, because that was the big thing this week. It was just utterly pointless. Funny lines, but it was just cruel to the viewers. And it was just utterly pointless. Zach's found a new Alfie. Alfie died. I can't even remember. I think it was sometime last year was when they lost their dog, Alfie. But Zach's found a new dog, which is nice. It's nice. Rishi has finally grown a pair and asked out the doctor woman that he wants to go out with. While Jay was forced to go on a double date with him, with the doctor's daughter, who he couldn't really stomach. Which again, a little bit funny, but just annoying, especially because you see it where Rishi and the doctor lady, I can't remember what the doctor lady was called, so I'll have to call her the doctor lady. But yeah, it was annoying just the way it happens in soaps, where one character's about to ask a character something, and then something else happens which completely takes the wind out of their sails and makes it so they have to do something else. It's annoying, but at least that was resolved instead of going on for weeks, like a lot of the storylines do these days. Speaking of storylines going on for weeks, Amelia and Beth. Let's talk about Amelia. Amelia was a great character, but she's just absolutely awful. The way that she spoke to Dan, who is her dad. All this, you're not my real dad. It's like, what makes a real dad? Is it DNA, or is it the love and the care and the responsibility? Which of those two makes somebody a dad? For me personally, I'd say it was the latter. And that's just me though. I think it was horrible of Amelia to say something like that to Dan. And I really hope that we get her to go back to normal, because at the moment she's been an awful character. But at the same time, she has got the Stockholm Syndrome, and it was nice of finally the show to acknowledge that that's what she had, was the Stockholm Syndrome. And we might be seeing more of Beth. I have heard a few rumours about Beth. I will not disclose them here. If you might fancy having a Google and finding out everything that you might want to find out about Beth. But yeah, it's some interesting rumours circulating about Beth. I don't really think they are true. I think it would be good if they were true, but also at the same time it seems fairly implausible. So we'll have to wait and see. Matty, Victoria and David, again, nothing really happened. It's just this whole sort of will they, won't they with Matty and Victoria, because it looks very certain that Matty is going to end up with Victoria. Which, I mean, it's just weird because Matty is technically her brother-in-law, because she is married to his brother. So I just don't think I could condone that relationship. But it's that same really annoying thing that we've had in Coronation Street between Craig and Bethany, where it's like Craig saying to Bethany, I wish when I spoke to all the other girls it was like talking to you. That's sort of, oh my God, why are you doing this? To the palm and in the face. If they're gonna get together, so just put us out our misery. I don't think they should, because that's his brother's wife at the end of the day. So yeah, Sarah doesn't get a new heart because they were about to put her into surgery, and then it turned out that the heart wasn't compatible. So again, you think, what was the point of all that? I suppose it plays with the viewer's emotions a bit, where you're thinking, oh right, you can understand the whole desperation of getting her the heart, you can understand it all a bit more, but it was already pretty clear, and it was already pretty clear how worried that Sarah was feeling about having the operation. But it was nice to at least finally see Sarah open up to her mother, which we hadn't really seen. We just seen Sarah bottling it up for her sake. So at least finally she's managed to get her fears off her chest, which is good for both of them. But otherwise it was fairly pointless. That Dom kid who came in, he passed out as soon as they started teasing him. A few of us are led to believe that he's going to die and Sarah's going to have his heart. Again, who am I to judge? So no new heart for Sarah. Margarita's got a new name. Chaz and Paddy decided to call Margarita Grace, which, obviously, I like how Margarita has a proper name now, so that it does feel like when she's born, she did exist, she did matter, because that's the important thing. But at the same time, there's something so nice about baby Margarita. I imagine they'll keep it as a middle name for her, so that when she is born, it can go on her birth certificate as Grace Margarita Dingle Kirk. Not a bad name, I suppose, but it just adds to the tragedy. It's such a tragic storyline. It's so sad. Like, I watch it and just really pray for a miracle that the baby will grow some lungs and some kidneys and be fine. But you got to face the fact that in reality that doesn't happen, and it's good, I suppose, to show that not all pregnancies result in a healthy baby. And as tragic as it is, because you so want Paddy and Chaz to have their baby at the end of the pregnancy grow up. So yeah, it is very sad. We've got some hard scenes coming up as well, because soon the baby's going to be born. It's going to be difficult viewing, but essential viewing, I think, to show viewers that this does happen, and it is hard for parents, and you've got to appreciate your kids while you've got them. You see, when I started watching it, I was very much on the side of Paddy, that we need to get the baby aborted, because what sort of life is she going to have? And then it's so tricky. I think they're doing the right thing, going to term with her, because she can be born and she will have existed. Whereas if they terminated the pregnancy, it would almost be like she hadn't existed. And they don't want that for her. They want her to have some sort of legacy. And obviously they'll think about her every day. But it is so tragic. But I won't go on about that, because there will be a time for that when those hard scenes will air, where the baby is born and the baby will die, and it's going to be very hard to watch. Meghan and Frank, I don't know what's going on there. The thing is, Frank cheated on Meghan, so I can't understand why he's being so harsh on her. It's almost very sexist. It's almost the way because he wanted to be back with Meghan after he was found out for cheating. So it's almost a very sexist mindset that Frank's like, oh, it was okay for me to cheat on you, but for you to cheat on me, that's absolutely unforgivable. And at the same time, you can't expect him to be delighted about it. Meghan was very tough on him when he cheated on her, and he's been very tough on her after she cheated on him, but he's been more so. With Meghan, it was just, you'd expect maybe a bit of understanding with Frank that, well, I mean, I suppose I did cheat on you, but there's no acknowledgement of that at all. And I'm not saying it was right of Meghan to cheat on him, because it absolutely wasn't, but it just seems wrong that Frank's got this attitude where, oh, you're the worst person alive, when he needs to acknowledge that he did cheat on her as well. And maybe he doesn't want to be with her anymore, and that's fine. But it's just his attitude towards her. I mean, it happens in soaps. They will resolve it. There was a funny scene yesterday when Meghan was on the Harley Davidson singing Born to Run to Frank. But then Frank had a date. But I reckon they'll get back together at some point. So we'll just have to wait and see. So I think that's all the storylines except for the main one, which is Lachlan and Rebecca. And I have to say that I was absolutely disgusted with it, with the writers, for allowing Lachlan to continue his rampage, because that's what it is. The fact that fans have to face the fact that Rebecca didn't get away from him. Rebecca is dead. I've watched Coronation Street for 5 years and Emmerdale continuously for the last 2 years, and never in that time have I ever been so annoyed, so frustrated, so infuriated, so angered after watching an episode as I was watching that one. I was furious that Lachlan triumphed. Absolutely furious. It was such an injustice, and it made you think, what was the absolute point of that episode? What was the point of Rebecca escaping just to get recaptured by Lachlan? The amount of times the writers got our hopes up and then just completely crushed us with all these new revelations. It was just wrong. It was very poorly written. And honestly, I expect better. I think the fans deserve better. I think it would have been much better if Rebecca had managed to escape, and then we could have put an end to this Lachlan storyline once and for all. He's still on screen for a bit, writers. We can have court. I mean, I love court. I love it when a character goes to court. I mean, there's a pretty big amount of evidence, but you could have had Lachlan saying, "Oh, she's just making it up. It's her brain injury," or something like that. Although it's not entirely believable. It would have just been much better if Rebecca had escaped. Finally, justice had caught up. I get that he's clever. That's the thing. I get that Lachlan's clever, but I just can't see how someone can get away with killing that many people. It doesn't make sense to me. And he always manages to think of a way whenever there's suspicion on him to get out of it, especially with the police, where they quizzed him about Jerry's death, about why he lied to them, and he managed to get his way out of that one. He always thinks of something. I've had enough. And a lot of fans are comparing him to Phelan in Coronation Street. I personally don't really see that comparison. I really liked Phelan's character in Coronation Street. I was happy for his storyline to go on as long as possible. I think it did come to an end at the right time. But the show's not the same without Phelan. Will Emmerdale be the same without Lachlan? It'll be better without Lachlan. Personally, I'm had enough of his character. The fact is, he's killed his mother. He killed his grandfather. He killed his best friend. And he's tortured, imprisoned, and now killed his aunt. He's a seriously messed up person. How could that be shown before the watershed as well? I mean, there was a lot of controversy with Coronation Street, with a lot of the Phelan storylines being before the watershed, and it resulted in the head writer having to resign. I think she's working on EastEnders now, actually, Kate Oates. It's pretty unforgivable to kill anybody, really. But especially to kill a mother is one of the purest forms of evil. To just so callously end the life of a young mother with such a young baby, to do that is beyond despicable. And the level of injustice, because that's the thing about soaps, is justice always prevails, but it's so wrong. It is so wrong of the show to have a young mother in such distress. We see her try to destroy her chains by having an imaginary conversation with her baby son, and it's so wrong. I can't really think of any other words to say that the whole storyline was just wrong. It was just wrong to have such a young mother killed off. I remember when she was comatose that Robert said, oh, Rebecca can't die because Seb needs her. Seb needs his mum. And he does. He needs his dad, Robert, as well. But, yeah, I suppose it softens the blow a bit that Aaron has said that he will be a second dad to Seb. It does soften the blow, but at the same time, the fact that Rebecca had so much love for that baby and she's been so cruelly taken away from him by Lachlan just makes me absolutely despise the character. And I am completely flabbergasted that there are people on Twitter that sympathise with him, that support him. He has killed his mother, he has killed his grandfather, he's killed his best friend, he's killed his aunt after the emotional torment that he's put her through for the last 3 weeks. That is beyond evil. There is no way that anybody should sympathise with him. I want justice to catch up with him as soon as it possibly can. I want people to discover just what he has done, and I want him to go to jail for it. I don't want him to die. I want him to go to jail and to suffer and to serve his time. Serve what would be 4 life sentences, maybe 5, because we don't know what happened to Jerry's fake uncle. He wasn't very nice, but at the same time, he doesn't deserve to die. No one deserves to die. Bad people need to go to jail, but death is just... yeah. Anyway, and that's the last we'll be seeing of Carly D'Amato as well in Emmerdale, which is a shame because I really liked her character. I thought she was a great character. As I said, I was very sad when Jerry was killed off, and I am equally upset and a bit annoyed that Rebecca's been killed off as well. Maybe though, thinking about it, maybe the actress didn't want to be in the soap anymore. She wanted to move on to more things, and that's fair enough. If the writers did say, though, oh, we're going to kill you off, and she didn't want to leave, then that just outrages me more. I've had enough of Lachlan, and I'll end the review there because I'm just going around in circles. I didn't enjoy the storyline. I was so hoping that Rebecca would get away. I was very happy when she managed to whack Lachlan on the head. I was thinking, come on, you can do it. She started camouflaging herself. I thought, good, maybe she will be able to stay in the forest. Lachlan didn't give up. Lachlan fell off the cliff. Rebecca saw a chance to escape. Managed to until she tripped over. Why? And then she was knocked out for longer than Lachlan. And then she was very clever with pretending that she'd lost her memory. And I thought, this is good, because I knew from the off that she was playing him. And it did turn out that she was playing him. But Lachlan didn't see that. Which just adds to the, is he actually that clever? Don't think so. I mean, because as well, he was going to let her go because he believed her when she said that she wasn't going to tell on him. And of course if the fact is, if he managed to let her go, she would have to tell the police about him just for the sake of anyone else, any other potential victim. He nearly killed Liv and Aaron and Robert. But he absolutely believed, hook, line and sinker, that Rebecca wasn't going to report him if he let her go. So Rebecca was very clever, pretending that her memory had gone again. But Lachlan wasn't willing to believe it, and he killed her. And a lot of fans were saying, and some still are, did he actually kill her? I think it's pretty obvious he did. I wish he hadn't, but he has. And at least we've got in the cabin, on the wall, Lachlan is a killer. So maybe this storyline will end, and I hope it will, because I hate the amount of characters that have died this year. In a soap, I've said this before, I think you should only have about 2 or 3 deaths a year at the very most. It's just too much otherwise. It becomes too unrealistic that too many characters are dying. We've now had 4 character deaths on screen. 1 death off screen, that was Amelia's mother, and another implied death of Jerry's fake uncle. It's too many deaths for a year on a soap. To anyone that works at Emmerdale, that writes for Emmerdale, that's listening to this, let's end the Lachlan storyline now. Let's put a stop to it. I watch the shows week in, week out to give you these reviews. If it wasn't for me doing these reviews right now, I'd wash my hands of it. I'd say enough is enough. I don't want to watch this anymore. If the writers are not going to write good content